Go Triangle.
Yeah.
And then Mark Bell, City of Hillsborough, and we're missing a few folks for quorum, so we'll go ahead and start. I think on informational items, our first. Keep going, keep going. All right. It's okay. A couple more. Yes, yeah, okay. Hold I think you're up first this morning.
Because we don't have quorum, we're going with informational items first. Because you don't need an action.
I think we don't have action, need to take action on, we're just gonna keep going, so we don't have to wait on the vote.
No, exactly.
She counts for Go Triangle.
But I mean, yeah. Good morning, how you doing?
Amy.
Good morning.
Did you text? It's Amy. With Marilyn.
Okay, Amy or Marilyn.
Could you text?
Amy or Marilyn.
Okay.
Good morning, thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot and ahead of the agenda.
Everyone, I'm Phil Satin, the planner for Triangle's TPO. Right now, we'll find an update on our thought process and especially where we are with Swift project to submit, as well as some other updates for the process. All right, well, technical difficulties, but now starting off into our period that we're not earlier this summer, just to kind of recap for that. They went out for public comment on June 23rd, into July 23rd. So we use public input, and so within the agenda, there is a link here just for an interactive dynamic report. You can see where exactly people place comments onto what projects, but here are just some of the participation that we generated. So thank you all for sharing this information. This is an overview on some feedback. Overall, we received many comments in regards to safety and also focus on rock. That was the main focus of our comments in both areas, I would say. Yeah, here. So these on maps here are the project locations, and then the symbols here also indicate where people place comments. Getting into our project list, when these were being developed. Here are the kind of criteria we had. Ordinarily, we would have preliminary data online, as well as an indication of how much funding we have to program these projects. We received these somewhat recently, and so they weren't really into consideration of the time to develop these lists. And so it was mostly input from our TC subcommittee, as well as public input that helped shape these lists. We'll get into it. I'm not going to read all of them out, but here is just the kind of color-coded to show which county they are in. Part of like a ped list, this go around, we had to work to narrow down our list even further from our usual submissions. We now have 17 allotted submissions down from our 24 submissions that we had last go around. So there are 2 slides each for each mode. So here is just our bike and ped list. Okay, up for a minute on each slide, just give them time to process these.
Does the order in which they're listed connote anything?
No.
And the blue is
Durham County.
Durham County.
And orange is in Orange County.
It's cute, actually. Trying to make it easy.
And then moving on to the other modes, I'll stop for minutes on each, but here is our highway list. Again, with production on both sides and variety of areas. Some we was received from last go around, the chemical signal system, which is really close to being awarded. As well as some top arteries along Roxbury Road and Holiday Street.
What 98, just wondering, because I know I've talked to Ellen Beckman from our transportation. That's a state maintained road, so if we wanted to have future plans for like buses to be able to go down to like that part of Durham County, what would be the process of like, would that come to the MPO for discussion of like, because since it's single lane highway, there would need to be some sort of infrastructure change of either expanding 98 or adding roundabouts or something.
Yeah, so it could originate in a number of places, but it would definitely involve us as well as the transit agencies. One, to get this into a plan just for an official analysis and recommendation. And then two, as a possible source of funding, we are one possible source. The SPAR process is a second possible source of funding to just fund these projects. And so there's multiple avenues can go on, but we're definitely involved in this. So the highway, we have our rail list. And then which reaches just one and go down to the transit list. So the transit is where we saw the most success last go around, just with the various BRT projects that we submitted. And so just keeping that same energy, we are submitting some additional BRT ones as well as certain ones from last go around. Second one, some of the new ones we're closing right here. So there's one proposed one that we're working out, .go from Orange County to Alamance County, and then additional BRTs going between Chapel Hill, downtown Durham, and then our mobility hub in this everywhere in between. So in addition,
Can you back up a second?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What were you gonna? Okay.
No, I just hadn't finished reading it, that's all.
Okay. I want to say, this is the first I've seen of it, a BRT from Orange to Alamance. Agreed.
yeah, this is a new one that's come up in response to receive some commuter data from a presentation a while back. And so this is one that we just wanted to propose, just get it into this process and see how it scored and see how it fared as we work on just improving it and seeing if we can move forward.
Yeah.
Basically, no density.
Yeah. There's no density there.
There is a lot of trips happening though between Orange and Alamance as we're analyzing the data for the MTP and the commuting that's occurring along that corridor. That's why we.
Yeah, but the density in those trips are going to the hospital and to UNC, and that stops in Carborough.
Yeah, it should go to the hospital.
I mean, if you're seriously entertaining it, then you have to either it goes to one of the park and rides that services the hospital or something like that, because that's, UNC has been complaining about 54 for a long time in terms of getting their employees in from Burlington and Graham. And so I think what you'd find is that, yes, there's a lot of trips from Mebane, but there's also a whole bunch of trips coming in, if you're talking Alamance from Burlington and Graham going to the hospital.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly amend it.
That makes the most sense.
One of the, go ahead, Salman.
So I know 54 is kind of the comes obvious route, but this one is actually intending to go up through Hillsborough.
I think where it's intending to go, yeah.
And it's also along that route just to be able to benefit the north-south BRT because it will overlap the NSBRT as well.
Why would it overlap? Would it connect to
Mebane.
the north-south BSD or?
Yes, it connects.
Some areas will overlap. as it goes through to Town Chapel Hill to Crew.
But have you discussed this with Chapel Hill Transit?
With this specifically, we at the MPO level, we're conceptual level. So,
Sorry, what?
not at the moment.
Oh, they have reviewed this list.
Yeah.
Yeah, this went to the technical committee meeting as well.
But it doesn't, I'm just, first thing trying to connect the dots here. And the north-south BRT goes from Eubanks to the hospital. This goes from Mevins to Carver. Where do they connect?
Is it going on 54 or I-40?
Not going on,
You can't go on I-40 because getting up in Carver.
and it's not going on 54 if it's coming from Mebane.
Yeah.
So it's coming down south.
I mean, this looks like it would go up.
So
I mean, it looks like it would, if it's following the 420, then it's going up 86. And then if it connects to the ODX, I believe it connects to 70 or 85, set to 40 eventually, right? I think this needs a lot more work.
it does. It is at the conceptual level at the moment. You're correct.
Would it be helpful for folks, like, because this is just getting released for public comment, to put maps with the, like a visual
Yeah.
with the routes so that when folks are providing comments, they can see, and it will be easier for them to kind of.
So for a public comment period, the maps were available there, all the projects were mapped out, so they could go to the project location itself and add the comment through that way.
Okay.
And so
This was part of the public comment
Yes.
release. from
Okay.
Jan.
Okay, so then when people were providing public comment, they had visuals associated.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, because I'm like, I don't.
We have it mapped. It's not part of this presentation because there's so many lines on it.
Mhm. Okay.
right, and also just presentation brief as well.
And did you receive any comment on that one?
That specific one, no.
And if I'm not mistaken, Mebane is not within the TPO's
Right.
geography, so has the relevant MPO that would cover Mebane also weighed in on this?
Yes, we've met with Burlington. Green.
Okay,
And they are supportive of it. It would connect in with parts system.
Mhm.
That also helps it become a regional project when it's going into another county.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
The map would be really helpful.
Hey there. Hi, this is Camille Berry, Town of Chapel Hill. I think before the members were commenting, Philmont was trying to explain where it would go. So if the staff were allowed to say where it would go without interruption, that would be helpful for those of us who are listening. So could you tell us how this is going? Help us visualize.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this is a very conceptual level at the moment, and so we have a general idea of the direction of the route, but as far as the exact road hasn't been fully 100% decided on. But the area it would overlap in this BRT is from going along Columbia from Eubanks, and then around Frank Street is kind of where we envisioning it would kind of curve off from this BRT and go to Carver.
And I think Doug had a comment. Doug, can you hear us?
I'll try to unmute.
There we go. Oh, geez, you got video too. Yeah, I think staff was putting together the explanation pretty well, but this is the purpose of this exercise is to get funding through SPOT. It's not to design right now at this point a clear implementable capital project that stretches from Carrboro to Mebane. It's to get some funding according to the SPOT rubric and then divide that long corridor into segments and different significant investments and try to allocate those resources towards those segments and features so that the local property or local project sponsors can move forward with, be it a park and ride at the north end of, or an enhanced park and ride at the north end of North-South BRT, or the Hillsborough Mobility Hub, or a route connecting Hillsborough to Mebane, which is already sort of underway and will be launching more completely in a few months. So I just wanted to provide that larger context that, yeah, it would be ludicrous to say we're going to put a, 5-minute headway BRT from Carborough to Mebane opening on day one. But that's not the goal of this project submission. So I just wanted to enhance that. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you, Doug. Any other comments on that before we proceed on? So as I mentioned, we had less information to kind of work with at the different considerations. And so just as a way to kind of verify that these are good projects, we come out here, did an analysis on the projects just to overlay them with our high energy network from our business safety plan. So we have a couple maps, not very great to look at right now, unfortunately, but they do show the project locations of our submissions as well as the high energy networks in the area, just so we can see where the overlap and just how they align with the problematic areas. And so the first one is here, the high energy network. And then the second one, we did a kind of more focused line on it in regards to the kind of priorities along the high energy network to see where those align with that.
overlap.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap in these areas. From here, we're getting on into updates with the process itself. So area specific ways, this is one area that we have commented in the past on wanting to update. It does require the coordination between all relevant members within the TPO and such. So with this, the area that we're looking to update is within the division needs category. So only one that we will be able to update. What changes that we are looking to make is with the modernization projects, we're going to increase the safety rate by either removing the freight or lane width. These conversations are still ongoing with our partners. So we talked to Campo and they are fully on board with these. We have also talked to our DOT divisions and they are as well. And so there's one or two other members that we're okay with before we can actually proceed with the install office of this change. And then just noting that with the safety and modernization, it was already increased from P7 to P8 from around 24% to now 35%. And so let's just increase that further. This one is an update that we will have. This is for P9, but we are having to get ready for it right now in P8. This in regards to update express designs. So over the years, they found that just inaccurate costs can just add pressure to the step in just regards to cost increases and just sort out the details for project in the conceptual phase as we just went through discussion. And so the requirement that they're doing just within the highway mode is to acquire an express design cost estimate or greater. Previously, there was a tool incorporated within Spot Online, but it was notorious for being inaccurate, to say the least. And so with this, we hope to kind of have more consistent and more accurate cost estimates. Yes.
So if it requires I don't know exactly the mechanics, but getting an express design level isn't free. I mean, the online cost estimate was. So if submissions require an express design level estimate, who's going to pay for those? Where's the money going to come from?
DOT. So next slide. This whole process is being coordinated by the feasibility studies unit. So similar to how each area has a set number of submittals, we'll have a set number of express designs that we can submit. And so for our area, we have 9. If we want to go beyond that, then we need to come up with how we're going to pay for it from our own pocket. But for the 9 that we are allowed, NCDOT is going to do this.
Thank you.
And then here's just an overall schedule of where we are. And so the three lines you see here are our deadlines. So we're asking us to piecemeal them, our request. So for the full-time submissions, we are asked to submit which three we'd like to proceed with by this first line at the end of November. And then 3 each at the following 2 green lines. Just want to give the feasibility studies unit time to process and plan for these, but also just give us time to plan through this new mechanism. And with that, I can take any other questions on this. So this is just preparation right now. We're continuing to refine these lists, and it'll come back next month for approval.
Were there more questions from the board? So we did things a little out of order. And I would like to go back, and we now have the quorum as well. So if we can go back and start at the beginning. Please. Take a roll call.
Take a roll call.
Okay.
No
And should we go
adjustments
to
to the
Edwin?
agenda.
No adjustments. Okay. Let's move into public comment. I do believe there are people signed up for public comment.
We have folks who are signed up to speak for public comment.
Renee, you want to announce?
Give us just a moment, please.
Okay.
All right, 30 minutes. Next one.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing? My name is Marcus Redrick, and I just wanted to talk briefly and make a comment about the CTP Massey Chapel project. Just a couple of things I just wanted to say. This has been a property that's been in our family for decades and generations, and kind of concerned, just basically looking at the schematics of it and how the schematics have it where it goes right through our property. And that's something that I think something that's a concern for myself and individuals that are in my family. We have a family member that's actually living in that particular property right now. And there's a possibility if the situation of this particular project goes through, then that could cause an individual to be homeless. I'm also taking a look at a lot of the families that have been out there for generations and how that could be a concern for the individuals that have been living out there for generations. So I just wanted to make that comment as far as that's concerned. Another thing I wanted to talk about really quick, give me 1 second. The current alignment will be a derailment to our properties. And the second point is we need to recommend that they should drop their current idea of realignment of Massey Chapel. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Next is Matthew Palmer.
He would like to speak.
Hi, everyone. My name is Matthew Paul. I'm a professor in city planning at UNC Chapel Hill. And I'm here on behalf of a group of my students who have been working in partnership with 2 neighborhoods in Bragtown and Merritt-Moore in Durham, North Carolina over the last couple of years. Learning about streets and roads by getting their hands dirty, doing speed studies and collecting data in the community. And this comment is about getting some of the streets in those neighborhoods on the PA list or addressed in some other future plan or program. We have observed speeds, 85th percentile speeds in excess of 45, 48 miles an hour on weekday afternoons on major arterials such as Dearborn, Club Boulevard, Cheap Road in Durham, where the speed limit is 35, and where kids are getting dropped off by school buses onto streets where there's no sidewalks, and drivers are sometimes speeding around buses illegally. One evening, we observed a max speed of 85 miles an hour on Club Boulevard. As a group of people were evidently racing, and we observed this just minutes after seeing a few pedestrians, again, walking in the streets because there was no sidewalks on that boulevard. We found that about 60% of bus stops in Bragtown do not have a crosswalk nearby. Many transit users who get off on Dearborn and Club sometimes have to walk in the street or wheel in the street or push their stroller down the street because there's no direct connection if there is a sidewalk. Residents in Merritt-Moore, once a year, a mailbox is knocked over on Sheep Road by larger speeding vehicles. Now in the neighborhood, 2 households, they don't rebuild their mailboxes. They just set them on a chair because they just know it's going to get knocked over again by another speeding car. If it's too dangerous for the mailbox, it's certainly too dangerous for the residents trying to get their mail. And we hope that this could be addressed either in the PA process and some other upcoming by the MPO. Thank you.
Next is Ruben Roddick.
Good morning. I'm Ruben Redrick, not Roddick. I'm concerned about Massey Chapel Road. Our family has gone through this back in 1963-4 when the 147 came through our front door and destroyed our properties, and we actually got nothing for that property. I think Duke ended up with a lot of that property. I'm just concerned about what's going to happen to us now. It's our second time around. And what's going to happen to us is if that road comes through there again. And we'd like to know who we need to talk to, find out a little bit more about what's going on so we can understand. They're building up out there, and properties now out there worth millions of dollars. And I'm afraid if we don't get a handle on it or understand it better, we'll be left with nothing again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Bonita Green.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Bonita Green, and I'm a resident of the Merritt-Moore community in Durham. I'm here today to advocate for allocation of funding to critical infrastructure projects in Merritt-Moore and in the Bragtown neighborhoods. These communities have long been in need of significant improvements to ensure safety and accessibility and overall quality of life for the residents. Merritt-Moore and Bragtown are vibrant and diverse neighborhoods that have faced numerous challenges due to outdated and inadequate infrastructure. The lack of proper sidewalks, safe pedestrian crossings, and traffic calming measures has made it difficult for residents, especially children and the elderly, to navigate the area safely. Additionally, the heavy traffic and high speeds on local roads, Cheek Road in Merritt-Moore and Dearborn Drive in Bragtown, have increased the risk of accidents and pedestrian injuries and pedestrian deaths along these roads. Investing in infrastructure improvements in these neighborhoods is not just a matter of convenience, it's a matter of public safety, and it's a matter of equity. By allocating funding to projects such as the installation of sidewalks, enhanced crosswalks, pedestrian signals, and traffic calming measures, we can create a safer and more connected community for all residents. Furthermore, these improvements will promote healthier lifestyles by encouraging walking and cycling, reduce traffic congestion, and enhance the overall aesthetic appeal of the neighborhoods. It is essential that we prioritize the well-being of all community members and ensure that Maryville and Ragtown receive the attention and resources they deserve. I urge you to consider the pressing needs of these neighborhoods and allocate the necessary funding to support these vital infrastructure projects. Together, we can make a meaningful difference in the lives of residents and create a safer and more inclusive community. And I'd like to submit this into public record. And I also have public comments from several other residents in the Maryville community. Thank you.
Vanessa Mason Evans.
Vanessa Mason Evans, I'm a resident of Ragtown. I've lived there all my life. And I'm not gonna be long because Benita and Matthew have spoken of most of the things that we've talked about and we're working on within our communities. Our communities are communities that have been underserved for so long. We have communities that are being developed and are growing. We need safe sidewalks. We need better bus stops. We have bus stops in Ragtown and ditches. And we have students and children that are going to school there that hopefully in the future won't have to walk on the goat paths because we don't have sidewalks. Truly, goat paths are not safe. And this goes for Ragtown and for Maryville. I didn't come with a piece of paper to write. I want to speak from the heart. There are so many people in my community that are truly in unsafe spaces. There's a house that sits 2 houses from me that houses 6 to 8 residents that are of older age or may need help, but they're able to do for themselves. But there's an older lady, and I really admire her. She's of Asian descent, I believe. She's in a wheelchair. She will not receive any help if you try to help her get to the bus stop across the street. Several times I've seen the city bus drop her off, not in a safe space, and she's having to walk backwards down Dearborn, where there's only a go pass, so she has to stay on the street. So that means cars are stopped until she's able to get to a driveway. And I've actually seen her almost fall off into a ditch one day, which is in front of my house. I have pictures, I have it on video. Something needs to change for every community, not just my community and Benita's community, but every community in Durham, Chapel Hill, any space where it is unsafe. We have got to make things safer for people to live and grow and enjoy the lifestyles they want to live. I've lived in my community all of my life, and I love Durham. I don't want to be pushed out. I heard someone speaking about, the gentrification and not knowing where they're going to go. There has to be some changes that still keep us in the places where we feel safe and comfortable within our communities. And I hope that y'all have heard what we've truly said, because this is a really serious issue that we're dealing with in Ragtown, Maryville, and so many other communities. And thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's all the public comment. If there is additional, we can add that at the end. Can we go on to approve the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, motion carries. Thank you. We can move on to our action items. Item number 9 is the 2055 MTP preferred scenario and Yanping Great.
Just before, can I just say thank you for the letter of support for the Tanger Mobility Hub?
MP Zhang, TPO staff. So, the action item is a 2055 Metro Transportation Plan, focus on the preferred option. That's a schedule. So, in spring of this year, we conduct alternative analysis for 3 scenarios. And then in the summertime, we have a initial draft preferred option for comments. And afterwards, we had this preferred scenario done. And moving forward, starting from now, next is adopt MTP and air quality conformity as general schedules. That we are moving towards all the final adoptions. This is a overview of the scenario we have done already. First is efficiency and needs. That's a baseline scenario for 2055 MTP. Generally, is just the project with guaranteed funds. Generally, we're looking forward 4 years from now, and this guaranteed fund for that project, that a committed project, and we take that into the analysis. The demand side, the land use side, we have to use 2055 land use data projections. The second scenario is plan trend scenario. Make it very general. It's not precisely to describe it, but generally the plan and trend scenario is for transportation supply is a highway focus or roadway focus project scenario. Land use data generally follows the local plans, land use plans, and move forward projected. That's plan and trend. Shared leadership is a relatively balanced scenario. Relatively less number of highway project and more funded project. And the last project is altogether scenario, which assumes we can get additional funds for the transit and bike and ped activity transportation mode. The first is a baseline scenario. Second is highway focus. The middle one, the shared leadership one, is a balance, and altogether is a transit and activity transportation focus scenario. So the process to develop the preferred option is, so based on the alternative analysis we have done in spring, we evaluate the project and service, and we create a preliminary or draft preferred options that we present in June, back in June. And after this presentation, we have met with all the stakeholders, member staffs in June and July to gather the comments from the staff members, technical staff members. And then we finalize this preferred scenario. That's steps we have done already. That's a second step. And then the last step is make a final one and get the result from the model. By the way, it's not saying we receive a comment is immediately incorporated into the final one. We have to compare the real situation and how many stakeholders share the same comments in directions. So that's a considerations for the final preferred options, whether it's in or not. So the new part of this MTP, we get it into MTP is technology and RTS projects. right now we have a corridor, integrated corridor project for the RAA5 dorm freeway together. And also 15501 north portion from the 15501 business all the way to south of Champ Hill at Columbia Street. That's second one. Third one is NC 54 integrated corridor. The last project is I-40, is TRP project. It's I-40 managed freeway. Generally, it's ramp meter, dynamic sign, and dynamic shoulders. So why we have this RTS project here? RTS project and technology project can help us improve the corridor performance and promote transit mode. When you get rich information and you have mass transit service on the corridor, it could switch the traffic from vehicle traffic to the transit. So it's also strategy or project other area do when the widen is not feasible.
Question, NC 54 Raleigh Road from US 15501 to, where does it go to?
That's that's NC 54 Raleigh Road from 55 to the NC 55. Sorry, that's a missing part.
To 55 or I-40?
NC 55.
In Durham.
So it goes past I-40.
In Durham. You will see the picture next slide.
Okay.
You will see the picture slide.
Okay,
Could you just explain a little bit more because I certainly don't really know what a multimodal integrated corridor management actually is.
yeah.
So that's a management with more control elements and collect the informations, exchange the informations for that corridors. For example, you have parking right law, there's information, you have parking space downtown, and there's space, there's information together, integrate with all the traffic information. So traditionally, RTS project with travel time information and roadway condition and safety accident information provide you for integrated corridor. It controls more places, facilities. So it's multimodal one. So you have the parking right, you have transit travel information together with car traffic information, make it a whole system to exchange information, provide the information to the travelers.
Does it provide information, collect information about bike and ped? Does it facilitate bike and ped travel, or is it strictly for motorized vehicles?
So it could be, but not that kind of project right now. But mostly it's transit and car vehicles. That's integrated project.
I have a question too. I'm sorry, I don't understand how this ITS project fits in with the preferred option. Like, what's the relationship between this and the preferred option you just described?
So this project is part of the preferred options.
But we haven't seen this before, though.
We have it in the altogether scenario.
Okay.
Only because we have additional funds, so we get as this project.
So it's providing information. Is it in any way changing that, or is it just providing that information to people via like travel apps to help you know which route's going to be less congested?
Yeah, it's shift project moving the traffic smoothly. So when there's alternatives, the system works better, more efficiency. So you have alternative route, you have alternative transportation mode, and you have all alternatives. You can move this traffic more efficiently. And also, there's a time of day when you have information about serious congestion at period, people may change their departure times, and make their trip plans. And that makes that efficiency. Typically, as I mentioned, when the widen or upgrading a roadway is not feasible. So that's a kind of project can kick in.
One more question. what is a ramp meter? Does that like stop people
Ramp
from?
meter, and simply see, you can see a signal at end of the ramp. On or
Controls the flow.
control the flow,
Yeah.
not interrupt the mainland traffic.
So it may help the interstate, but what if it backs up onto the local?
That's a good question. So that's need engineer detailed study. What's the best point to set up the ramp meter? And when you set up the ramp meter, you could set up ramp meter for that ramp, but not all day. That's need engineer study. But generally, it helps. Yeah.
So I'm not sure I'm not fully understanding with the integrated corridor management. Is that real-time information for real-time control, or are you collecting information to help you make changes down the road?
It's real-time control. So for example, if there's accidents, you can get it and with the instant response for that events. Yeah, so that helps more the traffic.
I've seen it in other states where if there is a backup, then they would put an X on that particular lane on the highway to allow more relief of that during these times. I've seen that in other states.
So that's technology and ITS project. So the next one is roadway project, and in this table we get so this we have the map here.
You skipped a slide, yeah.
So back to the previous question, this one RTS integrated corridor from 15501 all the way to the AC 55. That's a project for us. Generally, after we done this preferred scenario based on the request, we look back at all the 2050 MTP project. And first, we see what kind of project was removed from the list. It was this project was the 2050 MTP project, but removed in 2055. Generally, the project already built. So, for example, Durham County Eastern End Connector, TPO, the South Adelaide Route extension to the Memphis Church Road. This build project are all remote from 2055 in order not getting the budget double count. There are some other projects were remote because they are new projects hitting. So we have a table, detailed table in the report attached to the meeting material. So generally, the casings is a new project added. It's generally a large project on national highway route system. And the first one is US 70 East. It's a boulevard conversion with a parallel collector route. Second one is US West, is widen and multimodal improvement together. The third one is relatively new. We just added based on the common and the overall routing, R85 north of Durham, from R85 US 70 to the red meter route plan to widen. Generally, in the 2055, all the I-85 is 6-lane already. All the Orange County 6-lane, other part of Durham County is 6-lane I-85. Only this portion left. So based on the model performance and comments from members, we add this one in. The other two project is a transit advantage projects. So we could build a BRT on the freeway. The cost will shift to the transit part. But other way around, we could utilize some type of roadway project for a better transit operations. These two projects are example. Number one is from freeway I-85 from Briggs Avenue to eastern end connector and further extend to I-40. So what we plan is to have a HOV line, high occupancy vehicle lines. So this kind of project for promote two goals objectives from MTP. Number one is promote transit, priority transit, encourage share riding. So one project. Second one is a high price project in I-40 from Big Durham County lines all the way to US 5501. It's a high occupancy vehicle lines project. The second one is high price, and also there are other option is also transit advantage is toll lines instead of HOV lines. We could build a toll line, collect some revenues from there. And the Campbell right now is managed line, toll lines, but we are thinking maybe this HOV get meet our two goals. It's better, but we would like to get your thoughts on this. We are ready to make change from HOV or the toll lines. Either way is fine, or the project is prepared. It's in your hands for this one. That's generally roadway project, a project we propose. So there is a map. You can click on that, get detailed information.
Question I have is on the US 70 West widening and multimodal. What exactly is meant by multimodal there?
Multimodal, for example, the bus stops, bike and ped, all these kind of things. There's a study report which approved by a board last year. There are detailed studies from Orange counties.
Okay, so that's the Orange County part of 70.
It's already approved.
And so, and on the HOV lane additions, are you saying it's possible to have tolls on a portion of that road on lanes and no toll on others?
No toll. Yeah, that's current situation for I-40. Campbell side is toll lanes, and we have HOV lanes. We more goals in the MTP, promote share riding. So
you can also toll HOV lanes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're not mutually exclusive, so you can totally, I mean, that's one of the advantages of an HOV lane is tolling it.
Yeah.
So people pay for the privilege of using it. So tolling and HOV are not mutually exclusive.
There's another type, it's not very common, it's called HOT. So if you want to pay, you got single drive, you can pay. That's HOT, yeah. That's third options. Make it more complicated.
Carl, first, and then.
I have a question too. So I don't quite understand the title of this. So transit advantage, and then you're talking HOV. So how does the HOV lane provide a transit advantage?
That's good questions. So generally I-40 in 2055 currently already congested areas. Durham Freeway or I-85 connect with I-40 is congested. We receive comments from publics. So the traditional way is just widen it, right? You have more lanes, but you get more traffic. From the TDM, travel demand management point of view, better you control the traffic, adding new lanes. That's HOV. Why is transit advantage? Because BRT and bus can run on it with fast speeds.
They can go in the HOV lane.
And reliable service, right? Relatively reliable service.
You're saying the bus rapid transit can ride on the HOV lane?
Yep.
Okay.
I would just add one thing we'd like to understand from the board is if there is a willingness for tolled and managed lanes, because that has not been the case for previous MTPs. So something for you to consider as you're receiving the presentation.
So I guess I'm curious, are we just asking informational questions or is this a discussion?
Yeah. Or is this coming back to us?
This is for release for public comment today.
Release, yeah.
So it will be coming back to you.
Okay.
I think if it might be best, Yanping has a lot of slides, and so it might be best for him to get through and then have the discussion afterward.
But just a question about the age, because you were saying, are we willing to consider tolling?
Right.
A big part of that is where the money goes, right? I mean, what if you would take the tolls and then invest that money in transit, it becomes a better idea for me at least than if you take the money and just put down more asphalt.
I think Doug knows something about the toll collections and reinvestment. Maybe we can ask him end of the meeting.
All right.
So that's this part, the transit part. So compare with, based on the request, compare with 2050 MTP. We remove the regional commuter rails from the plans. We have this intercity, this existing service, intercity rail line service in the plan, getting to the model by adding two stations. One is the RTP station at the new transit center heart. The second one is at Hillsborough, Orange County. So that's the current plan. For the railway station construction, it's not, we assume that can get federal grants. So in other words, it's not part of MTP cost. But each station, railway station associated with transit center, the transit center cost is into the MTP process.
So I'm looking at the map and I'm just sort of reconciling what we saw earlier from the spot submissions. So if we are asking for a BRT between Mebane and Carrboro, wherever it's going to go, shouldn't that be in here? I mean, if we think it's a project worth submitting to spot for funding in the next 10 years, then it should be on here for 2055. And I'm just wondering now if there aren't other projects that have been submitted that we're talking about, but we're not putting them in the NTP, which seems like a real big disconnect to me.
Yeah, we try to get, that's a good question. We try to get the spot submission project into the MTP. But MTP has a project constraint. In other words, we try to get the project most likely happen for the future into these plans. And if, for example, you have extensions, make up example, for North-South BRT of Champ Hill, it could be submitted, his experts could be submitted for spot, but we amended MTP afterwards. Is that okay? Yeah, so that's answer to the questions. So the BRT lines generally are same as MTP, last MTP. The changes was one new added is Durham Central BRT from Duke via Durham Station to the village east of Durham. That's new added BRT line. Secondly, we extend BRT lines from Champ Hill, UNC to Carrboro. That's second extensions changes. So the rest are same. There's a map, interactive map you can click and get detailed information for that. For the bus line, as mentioned here, we have a short range plan. We have a total transit plan. We put it all into the MTP and model. And there are bus line adjustment, and there are new bus lines we mentioned. We added, for example, in Champ Hill, we add Carrboro, we add White Cross Express in order to get less traffic on the NC54 West. We add White Cross Express from White Cross with parking right lot all the way to UNC and Champ Hill. That's based on the suggestions from Champ Hill. Yeah. For the Durham, for example, we have extended coverage. One example is we have Durham service to the partner in Franklin counties. So that's one example. There are more examples. It's listed in the report. We have detailed list. For the BRT project, we did some changes for the timelines. In the last meeting, we received the request to after 5 years to receive more budget for the transit and alternative transportation mode. So previously, for first decade, we only have the Champion North-South BRT line. But now we have 3 BRT lines, Durham Central BRT lines and Durham Orange BRT lines with budget estimate in the first decade. That's based on your request.
One question? Can you explain the Durham North-South BRT? What is that? Because that's not on your.
Durham North-South BRT is from Duke, Durham Station, NCCU, Durham Tech, all the way to the RTP. We are in talk with Campbell to connect with Campbell BRT line to form a unified combined BRT service right now. So maybe in the final plan, you will see this North-South BRT will connect this Campbell BRT line to form one BRT line, just like what you see in the steep or spot processes, North Hill Valley BRT line all the way to RTP and to Durham.
So where does that North-South BRT, does that run along?
The Durham Freeway and I-85. See, that's the reason we propose this HOV line project here for this BRT.
The problem with that is it means that you've got the largest portion of it can't pick up or discharge passengers.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, look, I don't think that's a good thing. But I mean, what you're doing there is basically taking 2 pieces, but in the middle, by running it on the freeway, it goes fast, but you can't pick up anybody from those neighborhoods or discharge into you lose all the connectivity. So I think you really, I mean, again, right now, it's just an idea.
So where does it start? The North-South BRT?
Starting from Tokyo University and then goes 9th Street and then goes to the Durham Station and then to the NCCU, North Carolina Central University, Durham Tech, and back to the Durham Freeway, south to the RTP.
It also means the central BRT, which we're building first, we hope.
Central BRT first, you are right.
Essentially terminate.
Right now is the first based on this.
Right.
The second one is from Durham to Orange.
Right, but the central BRT essentially terminates at like Wellens Village, and that's it, right? So seems like there would be, ideally, you would not just sort of terminate there, like, because I know we talked before about that going down like 70 as a way so you extend it.
70 is a very tricky thing. We test in multiple MTP. The ride shape is very low. That's since we are uncertain about to set up a BRT on the US 70. But we have a new express bus on US 70s. So that requires a detailed study on that.
So you could have an express bus on 70.
Yeah, for the 2055.
Just because it seems odd you want to
from the village,
right? Because our first BRT within the end of the village seems like you want to connect that to other, and not be sort of disconnected.
It's possible, yeah. If the cost is minimal, I only connect with all special facility BRT type that will be there, and just run on the big traffic is possible.
Ellen, if I could, Durham County is getting started with the BRT vision plan, which is intended to look at all of these issues in more detail. We just got under contract, so we're starting to meet with staff, and then there'll be stakeholder engagement with this board, all that stuff. But the intention is to look at stuff like this, right? What is the long-term kind of BRT network for Durham that makes sense? You weren't really able to do that through the MTP process, but it would intend to do that through this process and then feed into the MTP and amend the MTP later. And the other critical part is that we would, amend the transit plan to set aside kind of the local funding reservation for these projects too. So hope that helps.
Yeah, very helpful.
As bus, we have new bus lines and extend coverage of the transit service and get better service for the key corridors or key ride-shaped corridors for the current situations. I can add.
Just one last, could you go back a second? I mean, I'm hardly a Durham expert, but when I sort of look at this, it's almost like a beltline structure. You're right. You've got BRT circling a very large geography, which has been developing and I suspect will continue to develop. But it feels like the middle of it is, at least in terms of BRT, is a bit of a transit desert. And shouldn't there be better connectivity, or is it that envisioned that there'll be lots of local bus service?
Bus line service all along the Martin Luther MLK Parkway here. And also there is a platform Go Triangle for Go Dorm is Go Dorm 18 south from here to Patterson Place is further come on here all the way in the south. So south east west movement for this tool has a new added transit line. If you look these maps, you click that map.
Yeah.
That's good questions. So we have this service in this area to connect this BRT and that BRT, hopefully. Not this one. This one, yes. So this one is not really
One is generally connected, and it's not a desert, generally through bus.
Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah.
connected, yeah.
Yeah, and the last question is, will these BRTs then, sent a letter today, we're sending a letter today for the Triangle Mobility Hub. Ideally, then these BRTs would sort of integrate and connect at the Triangle Mobility Hub, correct?
Yeah, correct. All the BRT line, so TPO has two BRT lines stop at the hub, and Campo has 3 BRT lines at hub, so connect there.
But the Mobility Hub, never mind, go ahead, never mind.
Yeah, so that's a cost is also in the MTP. So for bike and ped, we don't really done the detailed works, but we just follow the local plans. In the report, we have this list from TPO's comprehensive transit plan, and that plan mostly lists all the project for bike and ped and multi-use paths, greenway walk, all this active transportation mode project in that comprehensive plan, but it's based on the local jurisdictions plans. The key part for this MTP, we have to take the cost into the financial plan of MTP. So this is assumption we made, and also same as a previous MTP is for each decade, because the plan may be for in each decade. For each decade, we will have 175 miles sidewalk per decade, and this assume mostly on the public funds. If developer has additional development sidewalk, it's all sizes, and 70 miles of share use paths per decade, 80 miles protected bike lanes, 20 miles boulevard per decade, bike boulevards. That's assumptions for the financial plan. So we had all these local plans in the document, preferred option document there, with links to the local government website. So that's for the bike.
Anything that's like across the whole TPO.
Yeah.
And that's based on sort of some projection of what has been done currently in plans.
Based on the past trend and what the planners foresee into the future.
What is this rate of development of each of these things? How does it compare to what has happened in the past decade? Are we staying at the same rate, or are we trying to accelerate something?
I think this is a little over the past, I think, but I can double check after these.
I think that's correct. I don't think we've been building to this level, but it's good to have the funding to be able to. We can ramp it up.
So that's the input data to the model, socioeconomic data, population and jobs. We show this table previously. In generally, the population growth fast in the Durham County and Chatham County, and this area, TPO area, the job is a fast development. In other words, you can see the growth rate. The growth of the jobs outpaces the populations. In other words, you get more jobs. In terms of the growth rate, you get more jobs. More jobs. And changes to this table. Previously, I present the whole Chatham counties, but this time we only shows the population and job total control for 2055 only for the model area. So the model area now including TPO, TPO, and Trimble in some rural areas, 3 portions.
Jane, ping on that. So does your model say, obviously that means people are coming from outside Durham, Chatham, and Orange to jobs that you're projecting that would be in those counties, right? So does your model say where they're coming from? Is this like from Mebane and Granville, or is it also Wake County and Johnston? Like where?
Yeah, we did analysis. I think last time there were members ask, we did a simple analysis about this, but we can show that one again. Can send an email to you after we have informations where the people comes. But if from the west, for example, whether from Greensboro or from Winston Salem or from High Point, we don't know. We only know it's from west.
It's from west.
Yeah.
I mean, that's to your point, Javier, that in some ways, like, so if we don't get denser in our core, we're just essentially sprawling out into neighboring counties.
We can get this information. You are second asked, but we can get this information after meeting and send to you by email.
That'd be great.
Our rocket science.
I know.
The employment growth modeling, is that based on prior growth? And does it take into account like the loss of federal funding for Duke and UNC and RTI and?
It does not take that into
No.
account.
So generally there are different forecasting for the job and population. For the population, we take from state budget office. State budget office has projections for the future. I think for the 2050 right now.
They actually go through 2060 right now.
Oh, great. So we use exactly what state budget office project for the population. For the jobs, we use a private consulting firms. They do this for long times. They have economic models based on each set of economic. They project each county's future growth of the jobs. So we take that forecasting as a total control for the future. So.
Thank you.
That's a key result, the measurement from the model runs. So we have 3 measures. Number 1 is vehicle mile travel VMT. Secondly, we have a vehicle hour travel VHT. Third, we have a passenger mile EMT. So we have 3 scenarios listed here. The number 1 is a baseline scenario. We mentioned 2055 baseline scenario. Second one is altogether. The last one is this scenario, preferred options. You can see increase the roadway in investment. It will get people travel longer to get more VMT, or you get more trips for the situation. But the congestion situation is getting better. You get a lower VHT. Increase the transit service mile. And you can see this one increase transit service mile, this number, 2 number. The Go Triangle one, including Wake County as well. For the local transit service, Go Durham Champion Transit and other 34 miles. And the final, the ridership is only in our TPO area to get 157% increase.
When you look at the transit service hours, I see Go Triangle up by 182%, which is pretty remarkable. What are you assuming, as you've added in these BRTs and some other, what are your assumptions about who's gonna operate them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So for cross-border service, generally, for example, Dorm Orange BRT, we assume it's go triangle. For the Champion North-South BRT, it's Champion
Oh, yeah,
Transit.
that's an easy
Dorm
one.
Central is Dorm Central. So that's assumptions made for these BRTs.
And what would be helpful in the future, I think, for me at least, I don't know about anybody else, but when we look at BMT, BHT, things like that, I think it's really helpful to look at it per capita as well as total, because that really.
Yeah, we had it in the past, but this time,
you know, that really gives you a sense of correcting for population growth. So by having it per capita, you really see whether you're making progress or not.
Okay.
We can do that.
So you anything else? So just so I understand this, so so what this says is that final column increased percentage to base means that by 2055, freeway including HOV, you get 10%. What's the 10% of what?
This is compared to the base scenario.
Right. So
base scenario, 2050 base scenario, we after 4 years, in January, after 4 years, starting from now, after 4 years, we don't invest anything, no transit, no bike pad, no roadway. So that's a baseline scenario. So it has a VMT, VHT, and passenger mile. And then we compare with the preferred scenario. You invest.
Right. So what that means is that by 2055, we'll see the model shows a 182% increase in Go Triangle service hours.
Yeah.
Over the base case.
Base case.
Right. Do you have what would be helpful
by 2055?
Yeah. So what helpful to me is what's happening with VMT over what's actually happening today, right? Like what is the 2025 actual for these things? How is it increasing or decreasing versus what is actually on the ground now? Not the deficiency base that would happen in 2055. I think it's important when we think about what our goals are. If our goals is if TPO are to reduce VMT, then we need to see, are we reducing or what's happening to VMT versus where we are today, not versus a model. Basically this is just comparing three different models and how they perform relative to each other, but it's not telling us what is changing from where we are today.
Yeah. So it's tell you what the investment get you. So you invest this amount of budget, what's the return? That's the number.
But then the vehicle miles traveled there shows that it's actually going up compared to the base, right?
Yeah.
No, the base is saying if nothing changes from today, this is what we expect to be happening in 2055. It's not saying that it's going up over what's happening today. The deficiency base is the status quo projected out to 2055. It is not today.
Right now. And then we also, we talked about this a lot. Like I think Michael mentioned earlier, like we don't have good measurements of like bike and ped activity, right?
There's like some measurement, but not on the roadway segments like transit and vehicles.
So, I mean, for example, we just talked about the increase in all the level of investment, 175 miles of sidewalks per decade, 70 miles of shared use paths. So how do we know, how will we ever know if those are actually being utilized?
Yeah, we can do a number of trips by census tract for the 2055. That number can be done for.
You can model that.
Yeah, from the model, but we
but
not assign on the for this greenway how many trips? No, can't have that. You only have how many trips from the origin to the destinations. Yeah.
And that's based on surveys.
It's based on model. Model has projected. Model is based on the survey.
So will we ever at some point get to some more data on greenways, actually usage of greenways, numbers of people, miles traveled kind of things? Are we working towards that? So we can
calculate how many miles, bike ped travel miles. We can calculate that. But how good that data, we're not sure. That's.
I mean, it seems like we need to. I know we don't have it now, but it seems like we need to work towards a model where we can actually better measure our investments in bike.
Exactly, we talk about this internally about to build some kind of bike and ped tool to support the school, because active transportation is a focus of the board, right? We're thinking about to develop a tool to evaluate the bike and ped. So that's
yeah, it's worth doing. Yeah,
we have in mind, so don't forget.
The other thing I saw recently, some survey data that showed percentage of commuter trips by car, versus transit. And do we have that kind of data? I mean, it showed, for example, for Raleigh, only 2% of commuters actually use transit. And it seems to me that these are the kinds of things we really want to be looking at. What percentage of people are getting out of their cars and going into transit or using other forms of, or bicycles or walking, whatever it is? Because really, the things that people experience, nobody, BMT is important, but it's very abstract. So I think if we can start getting a handle on, like I say, how many people who go to, the people who go to work, how are they getting there? And is it moving in the direction that we think it ought to be moving?
We can get it, but PMT, passenger mile travel, is a simple measure. But we can get what you said. For the commuting trips, the percent of the most share for the commuter trip. Yeah. This is a corridor measure, top 10 corridor measure from baseline scenario. You can see the measure is, we call it travel time index, TPR. But in order to make it easy to understand, staff to change it as extra time you need. Extra time means when there is no traffic, what's your travel time? It's a baseline. And then what extra time you need for travel is this measure. For the baseline scenario, typically we take the 50 or 1.5 for the TTR. For the ET, we use 50 as a trigger. If above 50, it means you have to pay attention to that corridors. And if it's under 50, it works well, it's okay. So for the existing path committed, from this model, you can see baseline US 70 is top. It requires 84% extra time to travel through the US 70 corridors in Durham County part. The second one is I-85 South. This is most dominated by the external trips from the west, from Greensboro, Winston-Salem, or even west. That's because this high ranking there. I-40 East is number 3. This is top 3. You can see on this list from baseline. So after investment, you have this investment. You can see in generally it get to the 50% extra time travel you need. And this time in the preferred option, US 15501 is 51. It's a top one. That's the reason we propose the RTS project, because there's no plan from stakeholders to widen it, upgrade it. So we had that RTS project there. US 70 East getting better. You see from 84% extra time to 50% extra time. And I-40 East getting better. I-40 East from 57 to 34%. It's good. So that's a general result for this corridor. The definition of the corridor is on that map. It's interactive map. You can click, get information there.
Question. Yeah. So for 15501 North, it looks like it really doesn't change much. And is that including putting in a BRT? Doesn't really help.
Yeah, BRT is there in preferred options.
It's just preventing it from getting worse, basically?
BRT there, and we have proposed together with the RTS project. But the RTS project model cannot evaluate this model we use, cannot evaluate RTS project.
What is RTS?
RTS project integrate, multimodal integrate.
ITS. Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, sorry.
The one that we saw. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I just thought he said R.
So just a follow-up, I'm still not clear of the answer to the question Amy just asked.
Doesn't get worse.
So East 5501 North goes from 52 to 51, and that's with a BRT.
Just from here,
Yeah,
all the way to the.
But how does it not help?
how does it not help? How does the BRT not help?
Just doesn't get worse.
BRT is from.
That's the answer, is it just doesn't get worse?
That is from the corridor and then go there to University to the. That's BRT.
One thing, when you think about the BRTs, right, and you have your estimates and whatnot, what kinds of either ridership or frequency do you assume?
The frequency I think for the peak is 7 and 15 for the dorm orange BRT. For the north-south BRT for the long range 2055, we have it 7 or 6 minutes for the peak, and 12 or 15 for the off peak. For the shorter line, more frequent. In generally, for the longer line, less frequent.
Thank you.
So this is a down measure. So we have system measure, we have corridor measure, we have this segment measures. The red line shows congestion situation. The yellow line shows some congestions. The other color shows just fine. So we look this yellow. So the left picture shows after your investment, preferred option. This one shows before your investment. It looks better after investment by looking the number of the red, the area of red and yellow, getting less area and segments for the red and yellow. This is for the transit. We do the same thing, but measure a little different. We measure the seat, how many seats on this segment passing through daily, and how many passenger. We use passenger and seat capacity ratios. So when it's over 1.5, we see there are congestions. From 1 to 1.5, some crowd on the bus. So that's a baseline. We can see very strong red on the I-85 and Dorm Freeway. After investment, it's getting better. That's examples of the bus measurement. Look. This is the budget part. So right now, because we have these scenarios, preferred proposals, we have to give a ballpark what kind of investment in general which required. It's not a final one, so it's not our final financial plan. Likely, we will give another presentation in September or October, give you our final MTP, final financial plan. This is a ballpark. The first part is the revenue estimations. Revenue estimations are based on some assumptions. One of the assumptions is 1 cent additional sales tax increase. The same as last MTP. That's and there are other concepts. STR is a strategic transportation investment fund, and highway fund mainly for the maintenance and operations. Transit, we have local plus federal together. It's 4.7 billion. This current estimation could be changed because the project timing may shift from one decade to the other. That will result the changes of the revenue as well, although it's cost, because in the cost part, we assume for the BRT and the transit center, we assume half of the cost will from federal funds. And this will become the revenues in this. So when we shift in the project across decade, it will change the revenue and operating cost. This is mostly from the 1 cent increase, 4.4 billion. The total at this time is about 23 billions, the cost estimate. It's a rough estimate, preliminary, there may be some changes, in the final plans.
You did the pretty quickly, but so the local, additional local fee tax assumes additional penny transit tax for all three counties?
Also the country.
Sure.
So this is the cost estimate. So the buy kind of add based on what we already showed the assumption, we calculate the budget for this cost is 2.7 billion. The roadway still tricky, we still adjust a little bit, 6.0 is very, the cost of 10 years is large. So we generally, if I should say, there's three types of cost estimation. One is their current ongoing project with cost estimate. We will take into the MTP. Their steep cost estimate, we take it into the MTP. If the project has no current cost estimate, so for example, the I-40 project is from 10 years ago. So the only way we can estimate is applying the inflation factors. But we know only apply the inflation factors is not get the real cost estimate, but that's what we can do at this time for the MTP. The actual cost we know, we learn is very high from the project. You can see many projects, if you based on the previous cost, current cost, and the factor just doesn't work well. So, but the factor is the only way we can use for the MTP studies. So the total cost at this time is about 20 billions. The revenue is 23. We will not get this exactly match the revenue because there are some budget is with use special for some special type project, transit, special for transit. And some safety, you have to use safety bridge for bridge is cannot use for others. There are some restrictions there. So we will get the cost close to the revenue, but not exactly to the revenue. Also, there's by decade issues. You know the project, you get different costs in this table as well. So we try to get it lower than the revenue to make it balanced, but there are still difficulties for this financial plan. If we do by decade, some decades there are big deficits, some decade looks just okay. So that's a ballpark for the cost associated with these preferred options. We won't show you this, but we will have financial plans either in the September or October for you to approve finally. I think that's all of the presentation. So receive your comments, questions, or your direction on some changes of the project. Yeah, so it's your time now.
Well, I think you have gotten some input from us, right? And I would feel comfortable, I'll get input from the rest of the board with releasing this and us being able to come back and add additional comment when we have that public comment.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to authorize staff to release this option for a 45-day comment period?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, motion carries.
Just one minor comment. You put for bike ped 14% at the top and 13% in the graph, and I did the math myself, and I realized it's 13.5, which is why I probably rounded up.
Yeah, right.
Nice to be consistent between the two.
It's a more
Choose one.
yeah, that's we have a table. We know that it's 13% point something. We can get a vanity more into this
I would
table.
just make them the same, so. Other people are.
Okay, I can do
Yeah.
that.
Well, the top one doesn't add up to 100.
Yeah, I know it.
101, yeah.
It's only 14.5 and 26.5.
There's some decimals.
You round it.
I just think he should be consistent in whatever pattern he's.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
It's not an issue.
You can take out the 69 cents.
Can I just make one additional comment to that? Yeah, quickly. The reason I asked earlier when I did was we were gonna talk about it was because when he led off with all the HOVs and the toll roads and all, I thought, oh my gosh, what is this all about? But then I saw that it's, that's just small, that's a smaller part of these other. And so that's more consistent with what this board's values are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Next is agenda item 10, public hearing 2026-2033 TIP adoption and safety conformity on film on this as well.
And this, we have to open the public hearing because it's an official public hearing.
And
He'll present after the public hearing.
okay, so we'll go ahead and open the public hearing.
I think we need to.
And is there a motion from the board?
So moved.
Second?
To go into a
All in
public
favor?
hearing.
Yes.
Yes. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Vaughn.
Public hearing is open. There is no one signed up to speak for this item. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak for the public hearing for the TIP?
I think so.
I know we don't do these public hearings very often. It's really just for the TIP adoption. Okay, so with that, we can close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
A second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
All right, thank you all. So I'm going to talk about our audit only determination report, as well as kind of present our draft FY 2026 and 2035 CIP. So starting off with the air quality report. Yeah, sorry. Let's go back to the Zoom. Okay. Starting off with the air quality conformity determination report, or AQCDR as we call it. So this is just to demonstrate that in the future, emission levels do not go above certain thresholds. And so the board, based off of the currently adopted 2050 ATP, as well as this current new step that we're looking to adopt. So one is done whenever either there is an amendment to the MTP, is when we kind of review on it, or when there's a new tip. So in this case, we have a new tip and we're looking to go through it. As for the STIP, so the STIP is a document that covers all projects for the next 10 years. It is overall kind of divided into two sections. The first 5 is known as the delivery. The second section is known as the developmental STIP. And the delivery phase, this is where we see more cost dollar amounts associated with actual years. In the second developmental side, it's more for conceptual projects. And so you will always see a cost amount or an exact year with that. So our STIP, as well as the STIP for North Carolina, is submitted to every SWA and FTA. So they review it to ensure that includes all of information, so all information on projects such as the funding amounts and schedules, and also to make sure that the individual TIPs of various NPOs are also incorporated within the STIP. And so every North Carolina updates it and sends it over to ECDOT just to align with kind of the revenue forecasts as well as their prioritization process. So for this draft MTIP, it is a subset of the overall state STIP. And so the first 4 years are consistent with it. And with project changes that comes up, as you know, it could be amended during our amendment process. So over the summer, this went out for public comment along with the spot materials on the public input survey. And so we didn't receive any direct comments on our air quality report, though we, as part of the process, we do receive feedback from both FHWA and EPA. Since this was created, we did receive notice that we didn't have any comments from EPA. As for the MTIP, we received one comment on it, kind of just expressing difficulty with understanding the document, which is something we'd all empathize with and work to improve with our next engagement efforts. So as far as what's new compared to when this was presented, when we released public comment, so what's new is that the STIP has now been adopted by our Board of Administration. This happened in July. They were able to do so because the STIP has been fiscally constrained. We did not go over budget for each of the year. And also we have revenue forecasts for future years as well. So pushing by remaining in budget, it caused many projects to be delayed. If I were to list them out, we would be here all day, unfortunately. So that's kind of the main effect of what happened to our projects. So with the schedule to adopt this, so public period is finished and the Board of Administration has adopted a STIP. Main items are this public hearing, which is finished, as well as some adoption here. And from here, it goes along with the state STIP for FHWA approval. And real quick, going into just the next amendment cycle. So with the STIP adoption comes the new amendment cycle for just our members to submit any project changes or updates to either funding schedules or funding amounts. And so here's the schedule that we're giving to our members. Some different from last time, we're getting rid of our all four amendments, and this allowing our members to submit requests at any time to go towards our amendments. With that, have you take any other questions regarding either the MTIP or air quality report?
All right, are there questions from the board? No. Yes. Is there a motion to approve the resolutions to adopt the 2026-2035 TIP and air quality conformity?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None?
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 11, the 2025 update to the ADA transition plan, and Money More. Yes.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Monet Moore. I am a principal planner with the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization, and I will be presenting on our update to the ADA transition plan. So, I'm sorry. Before we get into the actual content of today's presentation, this is kind of an overview of what we'll be going over today, which includes a bit of the background about our adopted plan, the Americans with Disabilities Act, Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, the ADA focus group that we hosted here at Triangle West, an understanding and framework of our ADA transition plan, the evaluation of our ADA policies and procedures, programs and facilities, and communication methods. We'll also be looking at opportunities for improvement and then some findings and next steps. So a little bit of background. So the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act was adopted in 1973. And then we have the ADA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, adopted in 1990. Ultimately, these two things prohibit us from discriminating on the grounds of disabilities. And then in 2017, under the name of Durham Chapel Hill Carrboro Metropolitan Planning Organization, we adopted what was then the ADA Transition Plan in partnership with the City of Durham, which was our lead planning agency at the time. So in order to update this ADA transition plan, we decided to take a little bit of a different approach. And through this approach, what we ultimately ended up doing is hosting an ADA focus group This ADA focus group was in partnership with the Triangle Disability Awareness Council, which is based out of Orange County. We really wanted to center people with disabilities and kind of hear about their lived experiences prior to drafting this new and updated plan. And so in this same room, we were able to host a focus group with about 12 participants with varying disabilities of varying ages that live across the Triangle, and really kind of learn what their experiences are as they navigate the transportation system that we have today. And so the goal of this focus group was to identify accessibility issues in the Triangle, identify ways that TPO and our partners can address some of these accessibility issues, and then set goals for improving access to transportation and TPO planning process. So what we've outlined here is for the 2025 ADA transition plan, what are the responsibilities of the TPO, and then what are our goals for the TPO? Being that we're an organization that does not own any infrastructure, we kind of outline some of those goals a little bit differently, but we also have our key responsibilities from the Federal Highway Administration. And so you can see our responsibilities on the left in regards to identifying physical obstacles in public agents' facilities, describe in details the methods that will be used to make the facilities accessible, and then specify a schedule for taking these steps that's necessary, and then indicate an official responsible for the implementation of the plan. But on the right-hand side, we have our goals. We want to be of assistance to our local governments. We want to increase and improve accessibility to people with disabilities within our TPO boundaries. And then we want to provide guidance relating to ADA policies and procedures where feasible. So with that, we did an evaluation of 3 key things, which includes the ADA policies and procedures, programs and facilities, and then also our communication methods. So getting into our ADA policies and procedures, some of the key things that you'll see is kind of a carryover from our previous ADA transition plan. Something that's required for us to do is appointing ADA coordinators. And so for our organization, that will be myself, and then also Samad will be assisting with that. So we want to make sure that even if one person is missing or not available, that someone still has a point of contact within our organization. In addition to that, what we've identified in the current transition plan is identifying ADA coordinators with all of our members' jurisdictions, but also other partners, especially those who provide paratransit services here within the region. Additionally, we've included our complaint and grievance procedures. This is almost the same as what we have in our previous plan. However, we've updated the ways in which our members of the public can provide complaints or grievances to us. So you'll see it's just a little bit more modern, allowing online submissions, but allowing people to submit complaints and grievances in multiple ways.
Do we actually get a lot of complaints and grievances?
Unfortunately, no. Our organization has not. However, we have started increasing just like our outreach and engagement methods with people with disabilities, trying to really partner more over the past year. And since we are kind of increasing our presence in that community, we want to make sure that our policies kind of reflect that and allow people to openly communicate with us. So then we go into our programs and facilities, just an evaluation of our programs and facilities, including this office here, being very mindful of how we move within this space, how everyone can address this space and this space be accessible. We also talk about if we aren't meeting in this space, what are those requirements? And so as the TPO, we've come up with a list of criteria in regards to if we're hosting open houses, if we're hosting pop-up meetings, what should those buildings entail? They should be accessible by paratransit. They should be wheelchair accessible. Just a list of criteria that we want to keep in mind as we are hosting meetings out and about in community. So we have that general guidelines for TPO events, and we've identified different meeting spaces within the community. We also go over the different programs that we kind of help fund across our region through the 5310 grant from the Federal Transit Administration. And then we get into transit planning for people with disabilities. And then we also talk a bit about pedestrian planning for people with disabilities. And we're going to go into that a little bit more when we get into our opportunities for improvement. So in addition to that, we evaluated our communication methods, what it looks like to communicate in person, via written methods, our website, and social media. And so with that, we have updated our website, which I'm sure everyone has seen. We're making sure that we're compliant with the latest standards. We are also making sure that we're using alt text on our social media, and so updating some of those internal policies and procedures. And then in addition, most importantly, for our in-person and our written communication, over the past couple of months, we've been able to bring a vendor on staff for ASL interpretations for in-person events, so we can provide those accommodations when requested. We've also been able to locate Braillers here in the state, so for people who do use Braille to be able to read and communicate, we're able to provide those services upon request as well. And so really trying to make sure that we're covering all the bases and making sure that not only what we do is accessible, but what we are publishing and what we are putting out in regards to our plans are also accessible. And so this is where we get into our opportunities for improvement, and we split them into two different, I guess you could say, buckets or categories. We start with our transit related. And so within this, we have our service and performance transit related opportunities for improvements. And then we also have our facilities. These are things that we heard in our focus group directly from our participants in regards to what they see as solutions in regards to how we can improve transit in the area. So really training for our paratransit operators, especially when it comes to just pickups and arrivals and drop-offs. Some changes in regards to like what people consider to be disabilities and that all disabilities are visible. We have improved educational resources for riders. That was one of the key things that we heard, is that they would like to see the TPO be more educational in regards to the services that's available within the area. And so if you're looking at the draft document, this is a carryover from our 5310, but we sort of have drafted a complete kind of guide in regards to paratransit around the triangle and trying to approach paratransit in a more regional way. Additionally, we have increased uniformity over services and certifications among the paratransit providers in the triangle, extend or adjust service hours to allow increased access to evening activities and public meetings, improve coordination between dispatch operators and riders to prevent missed trips, require paratransit to offer door-to-door service instead of just curb to curb, and then partner with mobility as a service providers to increase service during evenings, nights, and weekends, and then include user input when planning changes to service schedules or processes. And then on the facility side, more so relating to our bus shelters, really just wanting to see more sheltered bus stops. Also, in addition to that, including people with disabilities and more resilient planning efforts, and then improving bus accessibility, including the addition of rubber grips, additional handrails, and then steps when there is some sort of just like difference in regards to getting on and off buses. And so these were the things that we heard. And so the full list is in the actual draft of the document, but these relate to our transit-related improvements.
Quick question. So that's basically the left-hand box just really seems to deal with paratransit, right? And lots of people with disabilities use other forms of transit. I mean, like just regular buses. So by not talking about regular buses there, does that imply there's no need for improvement?
No, this is not an all-encompassing list. And so there is a mix of both, but most of our participants within the focus group do rely on paratransit. And however, we did see a more so facility improvements for folks who don't. So if you see, for instance, the improvement of shelters, that's relating to our more so fixed routes as opposed to paratransit. So the interactions are just a bit different when riding paratransit than riding on fixed route, is what we've kind of learned through the focus group. So opportunities for improvement relating to pedestrian related concerns. Really, we heard about sidewalks and curbs are often unsafe or missing, forcing people to travel in roadways or uneven surfaces. One of the big complaints that we heard is micromobility and e-scooters, not necessarily always the use of them, but where they're being parked, where they're being left, blocking the passages for people to get to where they need to go. We heard about the audible signs, especially at crosswalks, missing and people really having a desire for them to be there. We heard about wanting more education in regards to the dangers of blocking crosswalks, especially for people who have visibility disabilities and to where they necessarily cannot see the cars in the crosswalks and how that may impact their travel, and how that may create concerns for them. Then we also identify, just in regards to basic maintenance for repair and maintaining sidewalks, especially those connecting to transit stops, increasing and enforcing regulations relating to the use and the parking of mobility devices. And there were even some instances to where our participants provided us examples of cities who were putting ordinances in places to kind of better enforce that and prohibit people from parking their micromobility devices on those sidewalk paths. So again, we have a list of here, and then we go back to resiliency planning of people with disabilities really wanting to be involved in resiliency planning, especially for areas that are high heat areas.
In regards to your question, from what we heard, making a lot of these pedestrian improvements kind of are the main fixed route transit improvements. So allowing people to get to the bus stops in a way that's a lot easier is the main current accessibility issue.
It helps everyone.
Yes.
Yes, and so just to say that a little bit louder, it helps everyone.
Yeah,
That was-
really, yeah.
That was some of the things that we did hear a lot from the focus group is really just improving transit options for everyone, and not just improving them, but expanding them. There was a lot of advocacy for rail in regards to just the expansion of transit options really just allows a lot more accessibility across the region. Especially one of the things that we heard in regards to accessibility across the region is that just like everyone else, people with disabilities have needs across the region. And so the certification comes into a big play to where if you don't have to recertify with every municipality or service provider that you're going to be entering into their territory or boundaries, really kind of gets rid of barriers in regards to who people can see for medical treatment, where people can go grocery shopping, also where people can live and if they can live in more affordable areas. And so there was a lot of great feedback. We have pages and pages of what we heard from the focus group. And so we've really tried to package it very neatly into this plan, but we are really grateful for the participation with Triangle West Disability Awareness Council. And thank you so much. So getting into some of our findings and next steps, we really wanted to put this into kind of a neat, tidy table, really identify just some actions that we can go after relatively quickly. And so what we did is we made a table with our findings and next steps with a list of recommendations, a more detailed description, the responsible agency or agencies or who we would like to partner with, and then what that appropriate time frame would be. And so there's a larger list within the draft of the plan, and we're also still open for recommendations as we're going to take this out for public comment. But one of the first ones that we have is to host an annual Triangle West ADA Summit, really just to kind of gather the people who have a special interest in advocating for people with disabilities and people with disabilities to kind of come together to be able on a more annual basis, kind of review the state of transportation for those groups, investigate single seat paratransit region-wide, improve paratransit scheduling and hours of operations, fully implement audible pedestrian signals, improve and facilitate coordination with ADA coordinators and planners or urban planners. And so there is a full list, but we wanted to give an idea of kind of what we would like to see here. And we're also open to additional suggestions. And so with that, we want to be able to take public comments, but we want to hear from our board first.
Yeah, I mean, given, that buses like Go Triangle certainly cross county lines and whatever, are there any opportunities to partner with Campo on this and really have a common, set of goals? And if you're going to do a summit, make it a triangle-wide summit, partner with Campo rather than just trying to focus on our service area. I mean, like I say, Go Triangle's buses, go across all three counties, and it just seems like, what's good for Orange and Durham would also be good for Wake and, Johnston and whatever else. So
a good suggestion. I think some of the participants in the focus group were not living in the western side of the triangle necessarily too. Didn't we have some people from Raleigh?
Yeah, so we had participants from all over the triangle. And I know there's been some conversations with Campo already because they have a mobility coordinator. And so we are in talks with them in regards to kind of how we can streamline this and really make our transportation system region-wide.
You have a question? On the
findings the next step, it does not include the sidewalk improvements near bus stops. Did you say that you have a more extensive list and you just didn't include them all here?
Yes, that is correct.
And that would be included on that? Yeah, okay, great.
Any other comment from this board? Okay, is there a motion to release the ADA transit plan for a 30-day public comment period?
So moved.
Good.
I heard a few.
All right.
Okay,
Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Thank you. And then item 12 is the 2025 update to the language access plan. Monet is staying up for that one.
All right, thank you all. This is still Monet Moore, and I am presenting on the language access plan. This is a bit different from what you all are typically used to be seeing. We used to refer to this as our limited English proficiency plan, and we have adopted the name, or would like to adopt the name of the language access plan. So a bit of a table of contents, again, a background, key changes from our LEAP plan, the 4-factor analysis, safe harbor, key outcomes, and then our schedule. So for our background, this was previously referred to as limited English proficiency. However, limited English proficiency is legally defined as a person who self-reports that their command of English is to be anything less than very well. The previous LEAP was adopted in 2021, and the only language that was addressed in that plan was Spanish. So a little bit of a legal framework here. We just wanted to include this because we do know that things are changing on that federal ground, and so we wanted to acknowledge that. However, we would still be using the Department of Justice LEAP guidance that was published within 2020 or 2022, I'm sorry. So the key changes from the LEAP and why we're moving forward with the language access plan is that we really want to align with our members' jurisdictions like the Chapel Hill, Carrboro, City of Durham, and Chatham County, who use language access plans instead of limited English proficiency. This will help bridge communication gaps, and we can kind of focus on what those communication methods are as opposed to focusing on what people may be deficit in. And then also we're expanding just beyond languages such as Spanish and Chinese, but really wanting to kind of have an overlap of our ADA transition plan, being able to provide resources such as American Sign Language and Braille. So again, this limited language access plan will expand language access. Again, recommits us to plain language, so the document is drafted in plain language, and then also it will consider cultural competencies as we're working with communities whose first language may not be English. So we do want to consider that there's not only may not be a language difference, but also some cultural differences that we want to be mindful of. So in that 4-factor analysis that comes from the Department of Justice, we have 1 factor, which is the number of proportion of LEP persons in the eligible service area or in our MPO boundaries. And so based upon our data analysis, we have about 20,000 Spanish speaking people and about 3,000 Chinese speaking people. And Chinese, for the purpose of this, it also includes Cantonese and Mandarin. And then for factor 2, that was the consideration of the frequency in which LEP persons encounter Triangle West programs. And so for that, we did some internal staff surveys, really reflecting on what we received in public comments, our interactions in the public, and how often are we interacting with people who speak Spanish or people who speak Chinese or other languages. The last 2 factors, the importance of the services provided by Triangle West programs and how critical regional transportation is, and also how critical transportation planning is on a regional level. And then factor 4, the resources available and overall cost to Triangle West, especially when it comes to the interpretations of different documents. And so with that, we had to do what we refer to as a safe harbor analysis. And so ultimately, if a language group in the area constitutes as 5% or 1,000 people, whichever is less, then that group is then eligible for services. And so again, within our area, the two groups that we found to be eligible for services include Chinese, including Mandarin and Cantonese, and then Spanish as well. So here is the data analysis that we have, just tables kind of summarizing those groups that identify the population of our Spanish-speaking people and then our Chinese-speaking people here within the MPO boundaries. So some of the key outcomes from this plan, outside of just doing the data analysis and that 4-factor analysis that is provided by the Department of Justice, we also identified some additional key outcomes, which includes additional training for staff, cultural awareness, basic communication, plain language and visual aids. We also included translation and interpretation surveys. And so our next steps is to take some of our key documents or summary of our key documents, such as our MTP, and start translating them so they are available in both Spanish and Chinese, and then partnering with community organizations to ensure that we are building those community connections for people who are representatives and advocates for those different groups. And so one of the things that comes out of this is we identified as I Speak cards. These are just simple tools that we have created to where when we are in community to help people identify what language that they speak. We'll also have devices available to us, tablets that we can use for translation when we're out in community, but really just a less formal way of being able to identify quickly the languages that are being spoken in community until where we know what we can be providing when we're going out into different groups.
Shouldn't those cards be in the languages that people are actually speaking? Having those cards in English doesn't communicate that these people need to say that they speak Spanish.
Yes, so we have both sets. We do have some people who are multilingual on staff, so they can wear them to identify that they speak different languages. And then we also have another set in other languages to where they can, people who are approaching us can identify that they speak a different language. This is just an example.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. And so this is just the schedule of where we're at. We presented this to our technical committee on the 12th of this month. We're presenting to you all today for the opening of public comment. We would like to open it for public comment that would run until September 9th. And then we would like to bring this back to you all as a board with any changes that we've received from our members' jurisdictions and from the public.
Okay, and it looks like we're actually gonna keep it up until the 25th, right, of September. For the, yeah,
Yes, I'm sorry.
okay. All right. So is there a motion to release the language access plan for a 30-day public comment period?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We did 13, we're moving on to 14. This is a call for project schedule announcement. I'll normally present this.
Over time, but we're almost there. So this is just an update, just letting you know that we will hold another call for projects for our members going early next year. And this is just the announcement to announce that. So starting off, just a refresher for our federal funding policy. This last adopted one was what this will be based off of. So in that, it outlines our regional flex funding program, or RFF, where we have resources of federal funds to distribute. One change from last go around, you won't see the CRP carbon reduction program on here. This is one that was created through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And so it's highly likely with this administration that it'll be renewed. So we've kind of removed that.
It won't be renewed.
Correct. And so we have our block grant distribution DDA funds, our TAP funds, as well as our CMAQ funds, which everyone is familiar with. So in our call projects, the type of projects that we hope to fund, mainly non-roadway, so public transit projects, bicycle and pedestrian projects, as well as other kind of non-category projects such as ITS or TDM done by CPRC. Within these projects, the phases that are eligible, essentially all phases. So within here is included some of the design phase, right of way, and construction. And within those three, there are subsets of phases that are also all eligible. So our funding policy dictates that we prioritize shortfall requests to add funding onto existing projects with already existing funds. These are kind of prioritized first, and then once those are done, we then program out for new projects. And then just quick note on our cost estimates, just since we are planning out future years, for each year, we require 5% annual inflation rate. And then on top of that, there's contingency for our projects. So for brand new projects without any phases completed, there's a 45% contingency we add. And then for all others, there's 30%. And so for this upcoming call, here is just a schedule we've outlined. Throughout the rest of this year, we'll be working with our members to educate them on our application materials, as well as help prepare the applications themselves and talking through just whatever ideas they have to submit. Early next year is when we'll be accepting the applications in January. And so in the following months after that will be where we score and analyze them and bring them back here to present and release public comment. And ultimately, we hope to have these approved in June, and then it can go through our normal GIP application to be GIP amendment process to go into the step. So regarding new submittals, new projects can seek funding on fiscal year 2028. Just with how long this process takes, we can only accept projects up to then, but for existing projects, you can also request funding from FY27. With how long this process takes, it unfortunately be too late for projects to really get any work done within FY27, which is why we're only limiting it to existing projects. And so as mentioned earlier, priorities on existing projects, those will be allocated first, and then new projects will be scored based off of the scoring criteria from our latest federal funding policy. And just one thing to note is just our caps. So these are not all projects that our members are involved with, provided just the locally selected projects that come through us. And so we do place a cap onto a number of projects that we can fund. And so these are based off of their UPW contributions. And so let's just a minute here, so you see how many projects our members can really request this go around. And with that, happy to take any questions on this announcement.
How much money is available altogether?
So altogether, we have estimated ballpark 20 million. The exact amount is still being adjusted, but yeah.
Thank you.
But just for one fiscal year, right?
Across both of these, for the existing funds, 27, and for new projects we fund in 28. No action required, and so no other questions. Thank you all.
Yeah. And then last we have the Triangle West TPO Board Retreat Summary from Doug.
Doug will be presenting virtually.
There's not a whole ton to present. The board had provided some feedback that they would like the summary from their board retreat on February 7th. So that's provided with your packet. There's some headings and some specific items identified by the consultants that are working on the strategic plan. So I'd be happy to talk about any of these, but also if board members would like to digest the summary and forward comments to me, I can make sure that they're addressed and incorporated after this meeting.
Thank you. Staff reports, a report from TPO staff. Doug again.
Nothing to add to my written report, other than it's been an exciting month and we've got a lot of great things going on.
Yeah, if I could just add one thing, we announced at the June meeting, a potential date for the Regional Safety Summit. We have found a new date since it sounded like that one did not work for some of our board members. It will be on November 20th, hosted at the Chapel Hill Public Library. And you should expect an email invitation coming next week to your inbox. So please keep an eye out for that. We would love to see you all there. We have an exciting speaker this year.
Is this an all-day thing, or what is that?
It is a morning.
Morning, okay, good,
Morning
thank you.
workshop. Until 1 p.m., David? Yes.
Thank you. No report from the board chair. North Carolina DOT reports. Lisa, let's start with you.
I would be happy to give you a quick update. As you all remember well, Tropical Storm Chantal visited our state last month, causing more than 120 road closures at its peak. Divisions 7, 5, and 8 were hit particularly hard. Early estimates for total repairs caused by this storm are upwards of $10 million. We are not done with our Hurricane Helene updates. We've received permits from DWR at the Division of Environmental Quality for the I-40 reconstruction site. These will enable us to construct a temporary bridge and haul road to begin extracting rock from the approved location in the Pisgah National Forest. We've spent about $950 million, or about 20% of the total estimated expenditures, and we received a total of $185 million in reimbursements. We are the proud recipients of some top honors that I just wanted to share with you, the National Operations Center of Excellence TSMO Awards. We won the Best TSMO, which is Trans Systems Management and Operations, and Best Overall winner based on how the agency served as a central coordination point for road conditions that local, state, and federal agencies relied on for their response and recovery operations for Hurricane Helene. Additionally, at SASHTO, the Complete 540 Phase 1 project won Best Use of Technology and Innovation in the large project category. And lastly, the TPD, along with the Foothills and Northwest Piedmont RPOs, received an Excellence in Regional Transportation Award from the National Association of Development Organizations. This recognition highlights the TPD's efforts in developing CTPs for these two planning organizations and reflects the work of strong partnerships and planning work that we have across our state. So we're really proud of all the hard work that all of you planners do for us. Wanted to just update you on a couple of campaigns. We joined other states along the East Coast for the first time in a campaign to raise awareness of and to prevent bridges from being hit by vehicles. The Check Your Height, Know It's Right campaign was held in July and coordinated by the ETC. It encourages drivers to know the height of their vehicles and pay close attention to the signage of approaching bridges. Another safety campaign from the Governor's Highway Safety Program and law enforcement across the state used Speeding Catches Up With You, I'm loving these names, initiative to remind drivers that speeding is both dangerous and against the law. The campaign included increased enforcement across highways and local roads. And I know that you all know full well that North Carolina is not alone in the enhanced speeding culture that has emerged out of COVID. So please do everything that you can to remind your constituents that even though we have these nice, wonderful, big highways, that doesn't, make you invincible. So, and the lastly, I wanted to remind everybody of the Transportation Summit, the North Carolina Transportation Summit. It is going to be at the Raleigh Convention Center, September 3rd through the 4th. And I know this room is full of lots of wonderful transportation geeks like me. So we hope to see you there. It is never a dull moment and you'll learn a lot. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, Division 5. Anyone from Division 5?
No updates for this month. Take questions if there are any.
Thank you. Division 7.
I just wanted to give one update on a Division 7 project. It's the I-3306A project, widening I-40 from 85 in Orange County to Durham County line, and I-40 westbound Durham County near the 15501. I received this update from our construction office. NCDOT is continuing to finish areas in the median between New Hope Church Road and mile marker 268. We have traffic shifted to the new travel lane in several areas between I-85 interchange and New Hope Church Road, and also between mile marker 268 and the Durham County line. We're going to continue to shift traffic to the medians as we finish the areas. Night work will remain consistent for a while. Also, the I-85 southbound ramp and I-40 eastbound should be reopened within the next month. And there's also mention of some possible 10 to 15-day road closures coming up soon for the bridges over I-40. Got to perform bridge rehabilitation work that could require replacing approach slabs just before the crossing of the bridges. Probably won't happen for a couple weeks now, but just a little heads up that's coming up in the future. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Division 8.
Brian had to leave a while ago, but the project update in the packet is current. So check the agenda and you can email him if you have any questions.
Julie Bogle, Transportation Planning.
Good morning, this is Julie. I don't have any updates today, but I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. John Grant, Traffic Operations.
So then leave a message.
And Nick Morrison, Integrated Mobility.
Not here.
All right, board will go ahead and receive those reports. Recent news and articles are on this agenda. You can check them out. Our next meeting is September 23rd. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
All in favor?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. That into these. Yeah, right. It's been a while. We didn't meet in July or May.